So a lot of times we talk about this idea that I am stressed out, or that I need to somehow cope with what I'm stressed out about, or manage my stress or whatever. And I think that sometimes stress gets a bad name. Stress is a good thing. I know that sounds weird to say sometimes as we're going through difficult times, but stress is a good thing. If we didn't have stress, we wouldn't have an opportunity for growth. I know for me, as a former athlete and bodybuilder, and someone who continues to look at growing, I recognize that resistance when I'm in the gym is part or key for me to have an opportunity for growth. Similar when it comes to intellectual information, I need things to be complex, and I don't understand it and have the chaos of not understanding it, so that I can go deeper into it, so that I can get understanding, which is then where growth comes in. But distress, that's a little bit different. Distress is when our body is in this constant state of fight or flight, and there is not a time of recovery. In a distressed state, what ends up happening, because our brain is primarily designed for survival, our brain is going to respond based upon what our mind perceives as being either safe or being seen as a threat. So if our mind sees something as a threat, it is then going to then kick in this part of the brain called the amygdala, and we're going to be producing adrenaline and cortisol to put us into that fight or flight scenario. When that happens, our body is trying to either try to somehow contain it, to fight it, to push it away. Back in another time period when, let's say, a saber-toothed tiger was coming, it was real important for individuals to be able to fight off this physical threat, or it was needing the adrenaline to get blood to its limbs to being able to run away. So either way, that was the original design of the amygdala, and it's critically important when that happens for a physical threat when it happens today. But unfortunately, many times today's threat are more of our perception, and it's more of a mental or an emotional threat. In that mental emotional threat, our brain still is producing adrenaline and cortisol like before, and it's running through us. It is forcing blood into our extremities. It is taking blood away from our ability to think clearly. And unfortunately, then that is when we sometimes make decisions that we wouldn't make if we weren't in this state of fight or flight. So what can we do? Number one thing that we need to do when we're in a fight or flight scenario, we'll feel the feeling inside. For some of us, it may initially come as butterflies, a feeling in our stomach or a feeling in our chest. Recognize that feeling that is happening, and then pause for a moment. Assess what is going on. Most likely, it's not a physical threat. Obviously, if it is a physical threat, you need to respond in either getting away from it or preparing yourself to fight. But if it is not a physical threat, then we need to pause and then assess what we need to do next. We may need to write some things down. We may need to, in the midst of what's going on, get a broader perspective, a larger perspective, and get more information. One of the key things that we know in this recovery phase is movement. Going for a walk, going around and moving will help us recalibrate ourselves and rebalance. While we're doing that, we may be able to then also lower that adrenaline, lower that cortisol response, and then be able to see a broader perspective of what to do next. Or maybe we don't do anything right now. Maybe we just pause and wait for more information. Again, stress is for an opportunity for growth. Distress is usually when our body's not recovering from it and has a toxic effect on our being, and that's what causes that inflammation, causes other types of illnesses. We want to work through that distress. Movement is good. Breathing exercises is good. Exercises in general is good, but then also being able to break things down so that we can take a look at it and then make a plan and not a reaction to what may be threatening.